welcome back once again. Greetings from Eastern Colorado. How you guys doing today? Good? Alright. Fantastic. Let's dive into it. Cue. Okay, shut up. Let's dive into it. I'm gonna make this a quick video. I can go on all day with this video, so I'm gonna stop myself short. I'm gonna try to get right through this video while it's kind of fresh on my mind, or I'm thinking about it right at this moment. So I'm thinking about how they keep saying that they're gonna put people back on the moon. People back on the moon. Anyone notice before, at some point beforehand, in the 1960s into the early 70s, all the footage that they had? Okay, I can go in all day about how that is completely bullshit, fucking clearly fake footage. I can go on all day with that, but I'm just going to give you guys some quick throwing fucking facts, right? Because just like the Flat Earth Society, they have to come up with a lie to kind of fortify the lie that was previously told. Kind of like, okay, well, like, let's quickly talk about, like, Flat Earth. There's a sun that goes around like this, and then it's a spotlight, and then they got to come up with a new thing, and then a new thing, and a new thing, and just to get their whole story straight, right? So your mind can wrap around their bullshit. They did the same thing with the moon landing. One lie after another lie after another lie, and then they give you the footage, and it's complete bullshit. Do yourself a favor, look at any footage from the 60s and 70s about the moon. How they wouldn't even jump, and then all of a sudden they're coming up on a string. Or when they left the moon, that the fucking thing went off, and there was fire. Somehow they got fire on the moon with no oxygen. It's just complete bullshit. It's not real. And I can go on all day like, well, if we got to have footage of watching Neil Armstrong get off the moon, being the first man on the moon, who put the camera there? We can go on all day about how completely obliviously obvious the moon landings were fake. We all know it. Even Joe Rogan knows it. And he's a fucking chill, right? So, let's dive into it, right? They keep telling you about moon dust. There's dust on the moon. How is that possible? It should be all rock. How you create dust on Earth is by decomposing material that turns into dirt after thousands and millions of years. Your shit, whatever material, trees fall down, and after hundreds and thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of years, that breaks down in the dirt after microorganisms, life breaks it down. Mold breaks it down. There are things out there that break it down. How's that happening on the moon? Then you can argue, oh, okay, well, how do you get the deserts? How do you get sand? Okay, how do you get sand? Water erosion creates sand. Wind erosion creates sand. Okay, well, how does there no water on the moon, but there's dust? How is there no wind on the moon? Because there can't be wind on the moon without an atmosphere, right? That's why the flag they pretended was just like that, right? No wind. There's no wind on the moon. Theoretically speaking, if there's no atmosphere, then there's no wind. Now, there could be like solar winds that affect it and stuff like that. There could be things like that affect it. Now, here's how dust could happen, but I don't believe it to be happening to this extent. They claim micrometeorites destroy the freaking planet, like just constantly bombarded with so much material, so much mass, every single day. So if they're boom, hitting rock, it breaks down the rock into smaller and smaller pieces. Do that over millions of years? Sure, okay, it's all full of dust, right? Like all the rock turned to dust. Okay, great. But if there is any wind, a solar wind or anything like that happens, the dust would be swept away, right? And now NASA's claiming that there is levitating dust. Google it, levitating dust. And if the dust is levitating because the gravity is so low and then there's winds and shit like that, which shouldn't be theoretically possible, but okay. But that's what NASA's claiming, right? Wouldn't the dust be going off into outer space? Like, it's just gonna hover? They call it levitating dust on the moon. How is that possible? Look, I can go in all day with this. Obviously, I'm not getting too into details with this. I just want to tell you guys, please look up the NASA footage of the past. And if you see something like fire on the moon, no oxygen, but somehow fire is being ignited, or how they have this technology to leave the moon, and you see the footage of them leaving the moon, it's like, why don't we have that technology nowadays? That looks like great technology. It's like anti-gravity technology. But we don't have that technology because it never existed. Or at least it was bullshit. It was fake footage. Look up the fake footage. You'll see for yourself. It's blatantly obvious. When they go to jump and then they wait to actually jump, and then all of a sudden their legs are still like this, and then all of a sudden they're hopping around, and I mean, it's completely bullshit, right? It's completely bullshit. They probably went to some remote place in Arizona or something, like Area 51 in New Mexico or something, right? And then they created this footage. It's blatantly obvious it's not real footage. And if there is so much dust around, never mind. I'm going to get too into details. And like I said, I can go on all day with this. I just remember never making a video about this. Look, the moon landings were completely fake. And if we're going to create... Now, supposedly they put something like a box on the moon recently. Like, I don't know, like this week or last week or the week before or something. I can't even remember now. But the fucking thing just hopped over, and then you couldn't, like, they fucked up, right? And if they're fucking up in 2024, how the fuck do you think it was possible in 1969 to put humans on that? And why would they bring a fucking, let's call it what it is, that rover's a car? Why would they put a car on the moon? How do they have space in the rover for a car? And how did that deploy out of the spacecraft? Like, and then regain the rover, right? Like, how do they regain the rover? Like, it's complete bullshit. There's no footage. There's no evidence. Why would you need a rover on the moon? See, if the idea of having a car that you can go farther away, first off, it's dangerous as fuck to be leaving your aircraft, that vessel that you live in, that you can have oxygen, and then go miles out there. It's fucking dangerous. Two, what if you went miles out there and then you took a turn too much? And how is everything flat? But when you look up on the moon right now with a nice telescope, it's not that way, is it? But the footage is like, oh, they just landed in a fucking flat spot. No dust somehow, or just small layers of dust. And it's just like complete bullshit, guys. And that's what I kind of want to explain to you guys. That it's just, think before you just blindly think we're going to the moon. First off, I'm not one of those people that believe that we've made it far out of our orbit. I'm not one of those people that believe that we went to Mars even. I'm not one of those people. Because all the footage that we have isn't up close like they claim. Even when they're up close at the sun, I didn't believe that shit. The sun's 1,000,000 degrees, but did not just, obviously the sun and every single fucking particle on that sun is fucking plasma, right? But somehow we got material that resists that heat and won't directly turn into plasma. Like, everything that is going on with science and astronomy is bullshit. As I made in that one video, I'm sure I talked about this. I think I remember talking about this in my astronomy concerns video. Was it almost looks to me when you go past the clouds, if you look at night and you're seeing the stars, you're seeing the satellites, that seems like a planetarium. And for many years, when I look up, and I'm not claiming this to be the case, I'm just saying it looks like it's a planetarium, like it is a dome. Do I believe this? No. I'm not a flat earth fucking crazy fuck. I'm just telling you what it looks like. It looks, and I encourage you to go out there and look at it, because even if you just look at it in the lens of the possibility, you're probably going to see what I see. Which looks like, if you've ever been to a planetarium like I have had the opportunity to as a kid, that's what it looked like. It looked like there's a dome, and we're just looking at stars that have not changed at all, even though for some reason they claim they're all moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour, right? 1,000,000 miles an hour, so let's say a light year distance every year. Let's just say that, right? Which is probably not that fast, but as fast as that, but to some extent, right? After 1,000 years, your fucking constellations are going to be a little out of whack. It's not going to be a Big Dipper anymore. It's not going to be what it looks like nowadays. And a lot of you guys remember being as a kid, there was a man on the moon. There was a face of the moon. All of a sudden, one day I looked up, maybe, I don't remember, 10, 15 years ago. There's no more man on the moon. What happened? It still faces our direction, which is damn near, it should be impossible, right? If even the moon facing us directly is damn near impossible to be just stuck in that looking at the earth the whole time. It's kind of fucked up almost. It's almost like fake. Now, I'm not saying the moon's fake. I'm not that guy. But there are concerns. The moon clearly has to rotate to some extent. And in fact, it is rotating just at the exact point of going around the Earth and spinning with the Earth, to be exact, every fucking day for thousands of years and thousands of years. But for some reason, 15 years ago, or I don't even remember when, 10 years ago, the man on the moon disappeared. Now it's a different fucking face on the moon. It's a different fucking moon. That was weird. Anyone else think that was fucking weird? Again, I can go on all day with this. The bottom line, when they're saying they're going to space and they're going to be terraforming Mars, it's bullshit. First off, terraform the deserts first. And I made that video, terraforming the deserts. I'm very adamant about that. I might even head the movement for that, for Earth. If I had to, right? Like, that's how fucking adamant I am about it. How eager I am to fix Earth. Anyway, when they're telling you they're terraforming Mars, that they have a new telescope that's out of orbit, pretty much don't believe them. And I've made this assertion before, where if you go into outer space, there's no atmosphere to reflect particles. How do you see light? You can't see light, therefore it's all black. But for some reason, we see stars. Well, all of a sudden you go to the moon and you can't see the stars? Concern. I'm not telling you to go completely conspiracy theorist about this, but one fact is certain. That footage on the moon 50 some years ago, fake. 100% fake. I think everyone knows it. I think a lot of people are just playing games now about it. Like, if you believe it, you're kind of like just like you just regurgitate on command what the scientist tells you, because it's not true. And if you're one of those people that repeat it, I'm sorry, man. You don't think for yourself. That's why I believe philosophy will change the world. Because if you think you can't be surrendered to slavery. No one owns you if you can think. If you can't think, you are victim to what people tell you. This person's a lawyer, so he knows better than me. This person's the mechanic, so he knows better for my car. Like the mechanic's not going to overcharge you and tell you some bullshit. Oh, you need some blinker fluid. Yeah, blinker fluid. And, you know, they can fuck with you if you don't know what you're fucking doing. If you don't know anything, if you don't have knowledge and thought, people are going to fuck with you. And that's what they do. You're not a scientist, therefore, you don't have any credentials. You're not a doctor, so you have no credentials. But somehow Dr. Fauci, and we can go down that rabbit hole if you want. Again, this video is going to be too long. The point is, don't believe them. Just because they regurgitate information does not mean it's true. I saw a video yesterday talking about, and it was just essentially all these clips of people regurgitating information, and it was all the same information about the moon. Oh, they left retro reflectors on the moon, and if you shine a laser pointer on that at the moon, it'll reflect back. Each of them, there's a video of a compilation with at least 100 YouTubers just fucking spitting that exact same thing out. And then you go to find out when you put a laser pointer to it, or even a high beam laser to it, you can't even tell it's coming back. But if you can't tell, then why do you even say it? And if there's all the space dust in the last 55 years or so, didn't that cover up your reflector? But you need a machine to tell you that it's reflecting for you? Like, again, I can go on all day with this. I think you guys get the hint here. They can say whatever they want, and if you repeat that, you're no smarter. In fact, you are dumb as fucking nails. If a tyrant says 9/11 happened from terrorism, they keep speaking that, and then you go around repeating that to your fucking community. Oh, did you hear about the terrorists that did 9/11? If you're that repeater, you're doing us all injustice. You're lowering the vibration in the consciousness of all humanity. Ask questions. It's okay to. And just like I said, the flat earthers that, well, if you're not in a globe, how's the sun go around? Well, it goes around like this, and they have a lie for a lie for a lie to cover up the last lie, the last lie, the last lie, right? I made that video, Flat Earth, debunking Flat Earth, which I never should have made that video. I think it's common sense, but a lot of people don't think. But that same way that a lie covers up a lie, covers up a lie, covers up a lie, it's the same thing with NASA. The same thing with these astrophysicists. They come up with a fucking crazy, absurd thing, like going on the moon, and then creating this huge debacle of footage, which is blatantly, you can tell like it's bullshit. You can tell. And then they got to cover up the lie with the lie with the lie, and then a lot of these people that went to the moon weren't allowed to have interviews and talk about it because they were giving up too much information, and they didn't know how to cover up certain lies that were asked them. Oh, how did this happen? Well, I don't know. That's a good question. You know, so the point is that I'm getting at is if we didn't have the technology now to safely land humans on the moon, how the fuck did we do it in 1969? How was that possible? Am I still recording? Because I am not going to redo this video, but this looks like it's about to fall. Anyway, is this, yeah, okay. Sorry, guys. ultimately, think for yourself. Don't regurgitate information from the experts, because the experts are up on podiums to try to keep you in a bubble. They don't want you to think. George Carlin once said they want you smart enough to run all the machines and do all the paperwork, but too dumb to passively accept your situation. That's how it all works. If they know they can manipulate you through school, they're going to keep that going until adulthood. So it gets you to believe that, okay, there's a superior, there's someone this is someone's expertise. Well, here's the truth. An expert in science isn't someone who actively conducts science, generally. It's someone who, for example, let's say like an astrophysicist like Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's the famous one. Let's talk about it. I'm 100% cool with Neil deGrasse Tyson. I used to, like 15 years ago, not like him, but I came around in the last 5 or 6 or 7 years or something, and I like the guy. I think that he has a lot of good information out there, but he has a lot of bad information. And I think the reason why he has a lot of bad information is because when something happens, like someone produces a new paper and that becomes popular, he has to be on board with it because he's in the community. Instead of being like, I'm actually going to conduct this experiment myself. Let's see how the fuck would this material last on when it's being hit at the sun's corona at 1 million degrees. Some would argue up to 3 million degrees. How is that possible? So don't regurgitate that information. Conduct a study. Know for yourself. Knowledge is better than regurgitation of information, because that information that you regurgitate doesn't necessarily have to be true or false. It's just information. The difference between knowledge and information is you put the information through the stringer of all variables to prove it is proper information. That's why I like philosophy again. Philosophy is based on evidence through the lens of reason and logic. So when you have philosophy, you can debunk a lot of the bullshit, because you do this crazy, absurd thing called thinking. The education system does not want you doing all that thinking stuff. They want you to regurgitate information on command and get graded upon the regurgitation. So you memorize this and now believe it. Here's a B. You don't do that, here's a D. You get graded on how much you regurgitate and believe the fucking information that is told to you. You are not allowed to ask questions. That's why people like me and Albert Einstein didn't do well in school. We did this crazy thing called thinking. And that's why I'm an anarchist. That's why I don't follow politicians, especially the Trumps and the Bidens and mainstream politicians. I believe Ron Paul was great, but that's another story. I don't believe in the government. I believe in your freedoms of thought, your freedoms of speech, your freedoms of to bear arms, of press, to question. Because here's the thing. The freedom of press is the freedom to question. The right to bear arms is the freedom that if the government's not answering your questions, you set them straight. Now that's in layman's terms, right? It's not like, every scenario, not every fucking logical conclusion, but that's a way to exercise your rights and one reason why they are there. Question things, question everything. No, we didn't land on the moon 55 years ago. No, we're not going to land on it in 2024. But then there are questions. Why? Why haven't we been able to land on the moon? Why is Elon Musk thinking about going to Mars if we've never landed on the moon? Now, I don't know if we've ever landed stuff on the moon, right? But I know that no human has walked on the moon because there's no footage of it. And if they're so excited to tell you about this, they would apply footage. So I don't believe that man has stepped on the moon. Man has barely an opportunity to live in Antarctica, which is like not easy to survive. I mean, people die. It's very easy to die in Antarctica. Now, being on the moon should be like, what, 50 times harder to survive than Antarctica? And Antarctica is like already like 10,000 times harder to survive than anywhere in America, including Alaska. So anyways, the point that I'm getting at here is think for yourself, question everything, authority, question your fucking mechanic. Oh, that's going to cost you $1,500. Don't just tuck your tail between your legs and cough out $1,500. Be like, why? What is this part? Do your research online. Do whatever it takes. But knowledge is better than being like going back to your wife and being like, yeah, it was $1,500 for the vehicle. I don't know. The mechanic knows more than I do. And you could have fixed that yourself with a fucking wrench for fucking $35. Right? Anyway, the point that I'm getting at is just think for yourself, question everything, and bring every information that you get, every piece of information through the stringer of reason and evidence. If the evidence don't add up, okay, you know that's fucking bullshit. If the reasoning behind that evidence that they have is bullshit, it's bullshit. What is there to talk about other than false and true? It's either false or true, or potentially one of the other, right? Like you're in the middle. I mean, if you constantly live your whole life regurgitating things, there's a lot of information that's going to be false that you believe. It's just going to happen. You're just regurgitating it. Dr. Fauci told you about this virus. And stay 6 feet, like that's going to make a difference. And all the other bullshit. Instead of just thinking. But people like me were like, okay, I studied virology. Nothing you're saying is making sense. You don't put a fucking... you don't put a little fucking mask on and this whole thing goes away. I mean, this is actually terrible for you. Doesn't that bring in the bacteria, breed bacteria, and make it harder for the UV to kill that bacteria? And, you know, you're producing the CO2 that you're putting back into your pulmonary system. I mean, just a little bit of thought. Like, does this make sense? No, it don't. It's not a good idea. Therefore, guess who never wore a mask? Anyway. Philosophy will change the world, will save the world, rather. Because the world's spiraling down. There's a lot of people dumb. They don't know what to do outside of their VR headsets. And if we produce philosophy to the average person, the world will be saved. Believe it or not, question me, question authority, question everything. Everything you hear, everything you see, because not everything you see you should believe. And not everything that you believe can be seen. Anyway, this can get out of hand. How far are we in this? 29 minutes into this video. That's enough for this video. I didn't even expect to last this long. I was just trying to say that we never landed on the moon, question everything. And I think you guys understand that. So stay tuned for the next video. Plenty more information coming. I have so much to talk about in the next video. Stay tuned. It's OPEX, Mind of OPEX. Philosophy will save the world. I'm out.